Faithfully stewarding a surplus is not simple. It's subjective, messy at times, and requires both emotional and intellectual engagement. It lives at the intersection of love and fear, prudence and hope, responsibility and imagination. It asks us to hold competing priorities in tension, to provide for those we love, prepare for a future we cannot see, and yet still to remain open-handed enough to participate in the restoration of Eden. For this sacred role, there is no single approach that fits for every investor, no magic formula that can be applied without deep discernment. We promised you in the afterword of The River and the Garden that we would walk you through a simple process that could help take some of the concepts from this book and turn them into a practical, real-life process that you can use in your own garden planning. I'm going to walk you through that now, and just keep in mind that while this is a simple process, the actual execution and implementation of these concepts is not easy. Like the family in the story, real families have messy dynamics and sometimes some conflict to work through. There are complexities and reasons why this is not going to be a sprint. It's more of a marathon. And so we want to settle into a process that can help us keep taking steps forward as we envision and then begin to implement the vision that we have for the garden we're stewarding. In phase one, we can kind of think of this as like preparing the soil or maybe laying the foundation. This is where we have to answer a few critical questions that start with why before we start doing how. Now, I will give you a heads up. I think financial advisors like myself and my team, we love the how. We love getting into the nitty-gritty of how we're going to solve the puzzle and optimize for returns and mitigate taxes, but we don't start with why, we might be moving toward the wrong destination, even if we have really good tactics and techniques to get us there. So taking a few minutes to pause and think about your definition of success. What does success really mean for you? It's very easy to let someone else define success for us because our culture and society is really good at doing that. There are advertisers that spend billions of dollars every year trying to help you identify what your success is going to be for you, and it always involves their vision of success for your life. But what if you lived just for the approval of one? What if you lived your life only wondering and asking yourself the question, what do I think God wants me to do with everything that He's entrusted to me? You might define success quite differently than the way all of the advertisers and our culture would have you define it, right? Getting clear and taking time to articulate your definition of success, and then going through an exercise to identify your core personal values. If you want to, this is a little bit challenging, but taking time to articulate a personal mission and vision statement is really helpful when you're thinking about why it all matters. And then also thinking through your family dynamics. Part of the whole purpose of stewardship really centers around family and the people that were entrusted to us, not just the resources, but how we can use the resources to support and bless the people that are in our lives as well. The last step in this phase is just to start getting more specific about your priorities. Now, our big picture stuff, like what we believe to be true, our personal core values, those don't change very often, but priorities are seasonal. The things that were most important to us 10 years ago are not the same things that are going to be most important to us today, and they'll continue changing for the rest of our lives. So as you make a list of your priorities, I want you to think about them in terms of what are my current highest priorities, things that I'm going to allocate time, income, or assets to accomplish in this time of my life, and then just giving yourself permission to set aside other things that are important, but you're not ready to get to them yet. Set them aside as future priorities so that you're more clear on where do you want your plan to really begin as you start implementing for phase two, which brings us to number two, the financial plan. Now, a lot of people come to the financial planning process thinking that it's the same as personal investing. But if investing is one piece of the pie, financial planning is the whole pie. It's really holistic, it's comprehensive, and it is the chance for us to articulate what's most important and then start making progress towards it by getting specific with how we're going to accomplish the goals. Financial planning is really where the rubber meets the road. This is building the tracks that your train is going to run on. We look at cash flow, at net worth, understanding different liabilities or risks that need to be managed, tax optimization, all of those things that you think of with conventional financial planning. Plus, I want to invite you to consider what would it look like to use the financial planning process the way that Gran did with her advisor, Carla, in the story, where she clearly identified, okay, this is how much I need for my provision, and then split that out from the other category, whether that's specific types of impact or generosity or family legacy types of planning, but getting clear on using that financial planning analysis to identify how much is enough for provision and leaving a little margin of error in case something unexpected comes up. But then having freedom and clarity that this other bucket of capital is here and it's something that I can use to cultivate the types of impact that I want to see in the world and begin investing in and giving towards and focusing on building the world that I want my grandkids to inherit from me. If you've ever heard of the term finish line, financial planning process is a great place to identify finish lines. That's just a way of simply saying how much is enough for me to spend on my lifestyle, how much is enough for me maybe to accumulate in my provision bucket, and any other area that you think might be worth paying attention to, where the tendency is to kind of keep accumulating or keep expanding over time unless there's some type of finish line set on it. One that people don't often talk about, but I think is important is, am I letting things just accumulate in my charitable bucket, in my donor advised fund or my family foundation, and not getting the assets deployed to be on mission and on purpose? So think about this creatively. Where do we need to answer the question, how much is enough, in order to stay on focus with our stewardship? Phase 3 is where we're getting much more focused and ready to start making some transactions. So if you've taken the garden audit, you've already had a chance to interact with this concept of the garden vision. What do you hope your capital will cultivate in the world? As we get ready to build a portfolio and think strategically about deploying capital, what is it that we're targeting? Are we trying to target market rate of return for the provision bucket? Are there parts of the portfolio that are more impact focused, where impact is priority? Getting more clear and specific. If you haven't had a chance to go through the garden audit yet, I want to encourage you to do so. It's available at theriverinthegarden.com. Takes about 15 minutes of your time, and there are some thoughtfully assembled questions that'll help you reflect on what you hope to grow and the posture with which you're currently holding capital. This is the phase where you're going to be able to get more specific on deciding which types of investments you prefer to avoid, which types of investments you maybe want to lean in on, and then also dialing in your risk preferences and risk tolerance. After you've completed the garden audit, you're going to have a sense of where you are today and where you would like your portfolio to be in the future. This seems like a simple 1-2 step, but the transition between A and B can actually be somewhat complicated. There might be unrealized capital gains or things to manage over time. I want to encourage you to think of this phase as kind of like a puzzle that we click and solve one box at a time, where we need to be careful in the process of transforming the current portfolio into the one it's going to become, that's done with prudence and with excellence. Phase 4 is about accountability and relationship. Now, some of us, if we're honest, accountability feels like a yucky word. Maybe because we've had people hold it over our heads, like a sense of condemnation comes with it. All we mean by it is you have some really amazing vision and imagination about what could be possible through your stewardship. Finding someone who can be on that journey and share that vision with you and help you remember what you said, help you remember the vision and how beautiful it is. I want you to just for a moment think back to the book, where Willow and Gran and Roger are standing on this hillside and all these golden threads are connecting together their garden with their neighbors' gardens, and it's passing through them, and there's this beautiful tapestry being woven together of relationships through business and through investing, and the way that capital is flowing as a blessing from one person to another. This is worth fighting for. It's also worth allowing someone to come alongside and know what you are intending to do and hold you in a healthy accountability relationship. I also think that these types of transformations, like I said, there's kind of a lot of clicks to putting this puzzle in order. It's going to be better done in relationships, like healthy, trusting, service-based relationships and friendships and family relationships. Finding people to go together on the journey is going to ensure that you go far further than you would ever be able to go on your own. Who are those those people in your life? Who is going to help you in a healthy accountability relationship? Who's going to help you keep going and stay encouraged when things get difficult or challenging? What are the professional advisors that you need on your team that you can trust and outsource some pieces of this responsibility and know that it will be handled in a way that really aligns with your vision? Take some time and pray about who needs to be on your team. Who do you want to go together with? If you're married, I hope that includes your spouse. True unity is worth fighting for. And getting both of you to have that vision be a shared vision is going to bear fruit for generations. As you can see, even though the process that I outlined is fairly simple, it's not easy and it's not going to be quick. Think of it as a wheel that's going to keep turning and keep taking you further and further on the journey as you go. There will be parts of it that you'll want to revisit. There will be parts of it that you need to be patient with and wait for the right timing for the next phase to unravel. I want you to stay encouraged and remember that progress is always better than shooting for perfection. Don't wait for a perfect solution to get started. Think of the relationships and the resources and the options that are at your disposal today, and choose your next most faithful step to stewarding your surplus. One of the most rewarding things for me as an author is one of my readers reaches out to me and tells me how my story impacted their life. I would love to hear from you. There's a form at theriverinthegarden.com where you can share a story or ask a question. And as I'm able, I'll get back to you and respond, or someone from our team will get back to you. We'd love to hear, what did the story awaken for you? Maybe in what ways was it challenging or encouraging? Were there questions that I brought up that you're still not sure how to answer, even though you've maybe been looking for a while? We'd love to connect with you and just hear about that journey that God has you on as you steward for His glory and for your good. There's a lot to learn about the different types of investment options within this whole values-aligned approach to investing and impact investing. I created a separate video that is going to outline for you some specific categories on the spectrum of positive impact investing so that you can start to understand the landscape a little bit more and begin to envision where different types of investments might fit with the puzzle that you're trying to put together. We'll link to both the garden audit and the next teaching video that covers different types of investments in the links below.